I need to learn how to grow calves. Your fucking calves are insane, man.
Thank you. Yeah, I think the key for me is just, been a big genetic component in there for the calves. So you guys need to make a calf peptide.
I know. You know what's crazy is they are, so there's a lab in Houston, Texas that's testing genetics and then creating unique peptides for individuals.
Oh, wow.
Which I think would be the future potentially of peptides, is creating that environment where we could test your genetic makeup, see what you're truly deficient in as an individual. Like what you and I were talking about for the rest of healthcare, where it's like, let's make this customized to you. Like truly.
You guys do that with like vitamins and minerals too, right?
Yeah.
What
we try to do is base off your actual blood work, your deficiencies, your genetic predisposition. Let's see if we can make a compound that's, unique to you with the right level of vitamins.
And then maybe it gets adjusted 6 months down the road to get your blood work done again.
Once we test it again, yeah. How long you want to go?
I'll just go back and forth. It doesn't really matter how long. I don't really count a lot of stuff. I just kind of go.
Have you ever done stem cells? You have any injuries?
I've done stem cells before, yeah. It was kind of a long time ago. It was for an elbow thing.
Did it help?
It didn't do much, but I think like we were talking about on our walk, it's like try to define the word work. I think I was asking. Yeah. I was looking for.
What was the elbow injury?
Oh, just years of kind of wear and tear from lifting, and just like I said, I mean, my elbow's fine-ish now, but I can't bench 600 pounds with the way with the way it is these days, and so I think I was just asking for it to do too much almost,
Where'd you go? Mexico?
I don't even really remember because I've done so many different things like that before. I want to say I went somewhere in Arizona.
Okay.
I had a bunch of people kind of swear by it, and I've done like PRP and some different things like that too. But again, it was a long time ago, and I don't know. I know there's like big differences in like where you go, how you get it done, and all that kind of stuff. But even with that, it seems like the results vary quite a bit. I don't know.
Did they take it from your bone marrow?
No.
Okay.
Is that like the realer stuff is from the bone marrow?
No, there's all these debates, like everything, like diet and everything else. Bone marrow aspirate has a lower level of live mesenchymal signaling cells, so you really want to take it from the umbilical cord. So now the general consensus by most thought leaders is we use birth-derived tissues and extrapolate those cells out and all those cellular goodies out from birth-derived tissues, healthy birth, healthy mother, pre-planned C-section. The issue with bone marrow aspirate, like for me, I'm 43, so if you were to take my bone marrow, there's a precipitous drop-off in viable stem cells every year for 43 years. And so you go from billions of live cells to like, you're lucky to have a dozen, of real, actual functional cells that will add value by that point.
It's just a way to kind of warm up and not have the body feel so stiff when you go to do your first couple exercises.
Yeah, I felt it in my left shoulder. I didn't realize it's that tight.
Oh, I got a pump, lat pump.
This thing's awesome. I need one of these.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's by the guy that makes the tank. You ever used the tank before?
The sled?
Yeah.
Yeah. They're badass.
Those things are sick, right?
I'm talking to, he said to tell you hi, Sorin, Sornex.
Oh, cool. Yeah, like
they're going to help me outfit a gym.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, they have incredible equipment.
Yeah, their stuff's awesome.
And those guys been around forever too. It's cool to see those companies be able to adjust and make moves, because they're kind of the original, you know, and then some of the other companies came in like Rogue and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, that competition's good, right?
Yeah.
It helps drive everything.
Rogue seems like, I mean, I don't know who is the market leader now, but Rogue for a while there seemed like they definitely had a corner on things.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's Bill Henninger is the owner, and he's worked in like huge companies before, so I think that's a big key. You know, like if you're a smaller company and you hear someone, you know, say that someone I don't know, that you're selling $10 million worth of product, like to him, he's worked in like I want to say he worked for like one of the big car manufacturing companies, so they're talking in the hundreds of millions, if not billions, you know. So when you already have that as your background, maybe some of the numbers aren't as intimidating, or hey, we need to spend, you know, $100K a month on marketing.
Yeah.
Like maybe it's not as, you know, not as brutal.
You got the budget for it at that point. This is a sick setup though.
Thank you.
Especially with the weather you guys have here.
Oh, it's nice, I know.
Dude, it's already 100 degrees in Austin some days.
Oh shit, is it?
I mean,
already?
it's like 90 something. It feels brutal.
But that humidity too, right?
Yeah. Alright. Well, actually, I'm gonna go. This is your warm up. I'm gonna do 3 of these.
We'll just do a couple sets here, maybe, I don't know, do one set kind of heavy-ish, and then maybe like
just get a stretch.
Maybe like a little bit of a back off set, and then we can do some regular benching. Have you ever used a slingshot before?
I haven't, but I've seen it. I've never done powerlifting.
Oh, cool. We'll throw you in a slingshot today. See how that goes.
What's your thought on hand placement with this? Like Jimmy has you really inward on the dumbbell, and then like trying to really stretch the pec on the way down. Is that your thoughts too, or?
I got no thoughts. Yeah, I really just sort of press it in whatever ways, you know, feels good. For many years, I would press dumbbells with my palms facing each other, just as a way of making it a little different than the barbell. But I don't think it matters too much. I mean, if you're trying to really maximize the stretch the way that you're talking about, I think is a good idea.
Yeah.
You know, to really pull the shoulders back, get them back behind the midline of the body. But, you know, I've just been lifting forever, so it's like, what's the difference between today and tomorrow? It's like, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
When you've lifted, you know, I don't know, 20,000 times, you know, if you switch something up slightly, like, does it matter that much, you know?
The main thing I've noticed is I don't really lift that heavy anymore. Even with Jimmy, it's all like, I guess, time under tension, more time under tension typically.
Yeah, I think heavy is like relative too, and it just depends on the movement, and I would say, like, you know, single arm, single leg stuff. It's like that's going to be so challenging that you're not going to be able to use much weight. But in terms of like getting the health benefits of training, I think some of it's been misconstrued about, like, you know, how far you need to go with that, how heavy you need to go with that. I actually think that even the body that I'm in right now, I don't think that this is like ideal for like longevity and stuff. I mean, maybe it will help in some ways, but I still think I'm like too big. I think what you could build naturally, you know, if I was maybe about 20 pounds less, I think would probably be more reasonable. You kind of start to end up with, and not that you couldn't be bigger than this, but in my opinion, you start to end up with kind of a Peter Itea type of look, or a Paul Saladino type of look. And of course, you could titrate that up or down muscle mass wise, but I just think like the people that live the longest would be more like a Clint Eastwood.
That's wild.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Just
you know what's funny is a lot
like
of centenarians actually drink and smoke, which is so counterintuitive. But the gist of it is, it's the onset of chronic disease that indicates when we're going to die. So like centenarians, the onset of chronic disease is typically a decade or more behind their aged demographic. So what I mean by that is, like, if the rest of us have a chronic disease state that starts at 70, our risk factors increase. They somehow delay theirs by a decade or more. And if you can delay the onset of chronic disease, then in reality, you begin to delay the risk profile of death on a lot of the all-cause mortality risks.
Yeah, I think.
But having lean muscle mass, you know, that's something that's really come out a lot. Like, the more lean muscle mass you can have to going into your 50s, the better. Yeah. Because you are going to have atrophy over time. It's
like getting ready for a surgery. You know, you hear that, like, people go in for a knee surgery, and a lot of times they'll try to lose 10 pounds. They'll try to lose a little bit of weight. They'll probably be a little stronger, things like that, so they can recover faster. And as you get older, you know, things will get more and more challenging. We know your VO2 max goes down. Your strength output's going to go, you know, it can go down. It doesn't have to go down, but eventually it's going to go down. How far can you push it off, I guess, is kind of the question, you know? I just really love all this stuff too. It's like, it's always been a lot of fun for me, so.
Well, and with modern medicine now, I mean, look at Stallone.
Yeah, right.
Look at Jennifer Aniston is the age of the Golden Girls. Like, times have changed, and you can not only look healthy, but be healthy into your 80s now.
Right.
If you live life right.
I think overeating is like just a huge factor.
Oh, big time.
You know what I mean? I think overeating is like massive. You're talking about like centenarians, and I sometimes wonder, because I think about this stuff so much. You know, I have 30 plus years of lifting. How come sometimes I'll walk down the street, I'll see someone, I'm like, I wonder if they're better off.
Yeah.
Like, they might not have trained hardly at all. They might have started like a couple years ago. I'm not really sure. Or maybe they swim or whatever. But you know what I mean? Because their joints aren't as beat up. And the way that I did it is like, it makes the whole conversation super complicated. But all of it's really interesting, because there's plenty of people that are very healthy that don't really get after it that much with exercise. And that's interesting, because maybe they do other stuff. Maybe they garden. Maybe they just don't overeat. Maybe they have like some habits that are good. Maybe they've always lived in an apartment that's upstairs, or you know, or they live at high altitude, or like, I mean, a list of shit can go on and on forever.
I think Peter talks a lot about, it's like putting your body under strain strategically, and knowing that the best thing we can do is be adaptable. So you should be lifting weights 3-4 days a week, but you should be doing cardio and running, and you should be doing HIIT training. And in a dream world, if you do all that, you're putting yourself in a position. But in the real world, how many hours do you have a day, and what's the best bang for your buck? And that varies by person.
I like to challenge a lot of stuff too, because like, if having muscle mass is a key for longevity, then why do women live longer than men? You know what I mean? Like, you just get in these different scenarios where you're like, oh, that's interesting. Like, probably the best thing I could do for my longevity is to go through a transition. So that's why I have you here today. I want to see if you help me with that process.
Well, I know they'll say, if you take out the risk factor of like war and high-risk jobs.
And men being dumb.
And men just doing stupid shit. You know, our life expectancy should be comparable to females within a few years.
OJ made it. He made it to life expectancy. I think he died today. He's 76 or 78 or something.
Wait, OJ died today?
Yep.
Oh my God, I didn't even hear that. Of what?
Cancer, I think.
Damn.
Yeah. I know, it's kind of weird.
That's what, you talk about hormones. Women's Health Initiative and the shit they did to scare the hell out of women from taking hormones set up hundreds of thousands of millions of women for failure.
Wow.
Because they're going to live longer than men. And if they don't have estrogen, their bones are deteriorating, their muscle mass is deteriorating, You know, a lot of people don't realize women have a ton of testosterone too, like
Right.
1/10 of that of a male, but more testosterone than estrogen in their bodies.
Wow.
And if we don't help women maintain hormones, the last years of their life are brutal. They die a slower death. Women,
A lot of women are
will be in
taking-
and out of the hospital for like the last decade, whereas men, we die fast.
A lot of women are taking a little testosterone, right? Like,
Yeah, they are
like
now.
titrating pretty small amounts of it.
Yeah,
Like a couple milligrams, right? Like
yeah,
5
super
milligrams.
low dose. Super
maybe
low
just-
dose.
Just do like a set of 6 or 8 and kind of see how that feels. And then if your body feels good enough to go a little heavier, we'll maybe go for one more, and then we'll kind of move on. There you go. One of the things I think that's interesting about, even if you pick just a couple things in the gym to push a little bit heavy, the act of like picking those up, the act of walking these over, it's like these are all things we take for granted, we don't ever think about.
Yeah.
But I think they're all important factors. The guy I work out with, he's 22, you know, and he'll grab the 120s and he'll just like, you know, flip them up, and like he doesn't need any help, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or if they're on the ground, he'll just be in the middle of a sentence with me. He'll be talking to me, and he'll be like, yeah, so the other day, and he picks both of them up and just lies back on the bench. It's like, holy fuck. But we take a lot of that for granted, you know, it's just to even lug these things around a little bit takes a lot of effort.
Well, they even say, like one of the things people don't think about is over the age of 70, can you get up from a fall? You've got to be able to have enough balance, strength, and coordination. And surprisingly, a lot of people over the age of 70 can't get up from a fall.
Right.
You know, because they lack the muscle strength. So
Turkish get-ups.
yeah.
That's true. Yeah, recently I had a relative fall. She's like in her 80s. And yeah, it's like devastating, you know, her hip got all messed up, and
Did she fracture?
yeah, I think she fractured her pelvis, I think. You know, life is, it's hard to, when somebody's 80, you know, I think we have to have grace for them and be like, I got no idea what that's about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm not going to speculate on like what happened, but it's, I mean, we know that lifting can be really helpful, and you're hoping that, you know, and as we age, we're hoping that this stuff helps a lot, you know?
Yeah. Well, I know there's a ton of talk about how much Biden's falling. And so there is, with neurocognitive decline, as your neurons slow in firing, your response time slows. And so your balance is deteriorating, your muscle strength's deteriorating, your reaction time's deteriorating, your mental cognition's deteriorating. And now you may put yourself in a bad spot, slip, and do you have the reaction time to stop the fall? And then do you have the muscle tone and flexibility to catch yourself?
Right.
And then if you do fall, do you have the bone mineral density and all the things needed? And that's where I go back to, I am a huge proponent of like exploring pharmaceutical intervention in your 40s and 50s to prevent the onset of all these chronic diseases. Strategically, methodically, after a deep dive, assessing.
I think so many of these things too can shift you into being a person that is more motivated to do a lot of these things.
Yeah.
Because testosterone's motivating.
Yeah.
We kind of forget about that. Or even just some of the other hormones, they can be, because everything you're doing is a little enhanced, and because you see results faster, even like you were saying, the GLP-1s and stuff like that, you get results faster, so now you're motivated. Like, I lost 10 pounds in a month. It's like, some people think, oh, it's cheating, you're not doing it the old-fashioned way, the old school way. But as you were saying, the old school way, sometimes it's really tough for someone to get a couple wins on the scoreboard. Once you see a couple wins, then you're pretty pumped about it. You're pretty excited.
Well, it's easy too. If you're that lucky, genetically blessed person who's always been jacked and athletic, it's easy to think it's all just comes down to, complacency or grit. But the truth of the matter is, people do get stuck in that pit of despair.
The pit of despair, that's where I'm at right now.
I think you're doing all right.
Watch your feet. Woo.
Beast mode.
Yep.
All right, we'll jump up to these. Well, it's actually a blessing she fractured her pelvis and not her hip.
Right, that's what they said.
Because hip and vertebrae fractures, for people over the age of 65, it's a 40% chance that you're dead within 6 months.
Shit.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's a death sentence for 40% of people.
Takes you off your feet and you're not moving anymore, right?
And that decline at that age is tough.
There you go. Good. Good work. How long you been lifting with Jimmy House for?
Only a couple months, because I was telling your guys I got addicted to Muay Thai.
Yeah.
And
oh, how cool.
lost all my gains. Like, you want to shred gains, do something that cardio intensive.
Right.
And so I realized how skinny and weak I was getting. My cardio got so much better. But then I started getting back in it with Jimmy, and I'm like, holy shit, I'm weak as fuck. And it's so depressing to watch the muscle just disappear so fast.
Have you ever done JiuJitsu before?
Yeah, yeah.
Cool.
We work with a ton of, we've got Gordon Ryan.
Oh, nice.
A bunch of the big name, Nicholas Marigali.
Cool.
Giancarlo, who I know has done your podcast.
Uh-huh. That's great.
And all those guys are in Austin.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing that everyone's in the same spot over there.
It's become like the Mecca for jiu-jitsu, other than Brazil. Because even the B team guys, who are arguably some of the greatest in the world behind New Wave,
right?
They're all in Austin.
Yeah, that's amazing. Everybody all in one spot. And then you got all the comedians there.
Yeah, Joe and that comedy scene in Austin has gotten crazy.
Well, it's just gonna keep
and what's funny is he's got all the comedians getting fit.
I know.
They're all working out now. They're all like eating healthy. They're all trying to do carnivore and kind of follow. Yeah, cold plunging.
There's 25 right
Trying
there.
to follow all the stuff that Joe uses for biohacking.
Do you mess around with a lot of that stuff too? Do you cold plunge, sauna,
Yeah,
like some of that
yeah.
stuff?
I love sauna. I hate cold plunge, but I do it.
Yeah.
I do it.
Yeah, sauna, hot tub. Hot tub feels great. I went in my hot tub last night. That's like obviously a lot easier to do.
Yeah.
But some days I have a day where I'll do all of it. I do cold plunge, the sauna, the hot tub, the whole, you know.
I like the cold plunge for
day.
the mental side, because for me, it's like fight or flight. It kind of like, it's like, it sounds horrible, but it's like a dog with a shock collar for me.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm all anxious and wound up, and I get in there and I'm like, oh, and then after a few minutes, I gain my composure, and then I get out and I'm like, what was I stressed about?
And you notice when you're not as well recovered that the water's almost painful. I don't know if you've noticed.
Yeah.
But yeah, it almost feels hot in some weird way. Like it feels like it's too much.
It burns, stings,
It kind of
like needles.
it kind of burns. That's
And then I was doing a lot of it wrong because the science was still evolving. I started doing it maybe 3 years ago, and then I was doing it right post-workout and all that. Now I've learned I try to do it first thing in the morning before I work out.
That kind of stuff's super funny. I think that stuff's fun. Like, I don't know. I just think like, again, it's such a long journey. Like you're going to be doing all this stuff forever. So like, I just think that people tend to get like a little hyper focused on like this study and that study, you know?
Yeah. I even think that with diet, you see everyone arguing over diet, and it's like, what works for you? What can you do? What works for you? What do you feel best at?
Same thing with like even taking testosterone and stuff. Like I've been doing that for so long. It just doesn't really matter. Like if I get around to the shot at the exact time, you know, I know maybe it'd be more optimal, more ideal, you know, but it's like, I just do it when I can, especially like when my kids were young. It was like harder to figure out when to do it. They're always like cruising around the house.
I feel like with testosterone, one of the things I want to do is like open people's minds and awareness, because I do know it's utilized a lot, but it's still stigmatized. And there's still this misnomer that it's going to cause cancer, it's going to cause heart attack and stroke. You still have primary cares telling people that, when all the data is the opposite. And all the studies they're quoting are from the 1930s for the most part.
It's actually an interesting thing, and people might say, oh, it's because they die of heart attacks.
Just notice this bench. I love how wide this is.
Yeah, it's nice.
It's sick.
Nice and cushy. You don't really hear that much about bodybuilders having cancer. It's kind of an interesting...
Yeah, I can tell you. Do you know anything about that research around cancer and testosterone?
No.
It's pretty fascinating. So all of that came from a study. It's a total debunked bullshit misnomer, 100%. This isn't me saying this. This is science quantified by white paper studies, data, research. That was a study from 1932 where a Nobel Prize winning scientist, a urologist, was curious how testosterone would impact the risk of prostate cancer. Long story short, there were only 3 people in the trial.
Oh, wow.
One of the men in the trial was chemically castrated, meaning a testosterone below 70 nanograms per deciliter. So he wouldn't have qualified for a trial today because he's not technically an intact male.
Right.
And all he found was there was a correlation with increasing a precursor in the prostate that they thought could increase prostate cancer. Okay, so for then the following 70 years, everyone was saying testosterone is going to increase prostate cancer.
Right.
In the 90s, Dr. Morgenthaler, who's like the godfather of testosterone for medical use, began using testosterone for ED because there was no Viagra.
Right.
And what he found is that it had tremendous results on improving men's mental function, cognitive health, motivation, lean muscle mass. And so he started using it throughout his practice. And what he realized is his other thought leaders were saying, well, isn't this going to cause prostate cancer? Around 12% of men in his practice develop prostate cancer. The population in the US that develops prostate cancer not on testosterone is 12%. So he went back and did a retrospective study for the urological board, over 70 years of data, and there is zero correlation to prostate cancer. And so the way they explain it now is it's called the saturation model. If you are below chemically castrated, then yeah, it's going to increase your risk of prostate cancer from chemically castrated level to low, which is 250. When you go past low, you've now saturated. You can only water a plant so much. So your prostate's saturated with testosterone receptor sites. That's maxed out at 250. Now you press through that to optimal levels and you reduce your risk of prostate cancer. It actually provides insulation and protection. And so the problem with all this, and the reason I ramble about this, is you still have fucking primary cares in America scaring dudes out of testosterone when they're at increased risk of every disease state if they're obese, if they're diabetic, if they don't have lean muscle mass, if they can't maintain bone mineral density. We don't know what we're doing. It's crazy.
I think also too, I heard more recently there's somebody that's utilizing like quite a bit of testosterone and then having people go, have you heard of that technique where it's like you'll blast like 600-800 milligrams of testosterone and then not take it for a little while, and this ramping, I'll try to see if I can find the information for you. I think you would find it super interesting. It's supposed to really be super helpful after somebody has had prostate cancer or something like that.
Oh, interesting.
I'd have to kind of
and there's still heated debate. I don't want to say heated. There's still debate on people who have had prostate cancer if they should be using testosterone. But most urologists now would say yes. You know, they're not as worried about it as they used to be because they now understand the saturation level. Because if you chemically castrate a man, what do you want him to live the rest of his life miserable? Like no sex drive, no ability to keep lean muscle mass, deterioration of bone mineral density, all the cascade effects that come with that.
Yeah, I think, what we're dealing with is just that doctors are good at helping people that are already really compromised. They're good at helping people that are sick, that need a surgery.
Yep.
And it's, I've heard people say it before, it's sick care, not really health care.
Spot on.
And it sucks, it sucks that it sucks that a lot of the flack gets onto the doctors or the hospitals, but it's the whole system that's kind of making everything the way that it is. It's not really necessarily just a doctor, and there's plenty of great doctors out there that go beyond, they go above and beyond, sort of, what they'll go above and beyond what they were taught.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them.
Well, unfortunately, they're in an ecosystem that
with a 45.
is controlled by a lot of special interests, like big insurance controls a lot of the decision making that your clinician does and has. Because if I'm a clinician in America and Blue Cross Blue Shield is 40% of my paycheck, and Blue Cross Blue Shield says, hey, Dr. Joe Bob, I don't want you pulling blood work, guess what you're going to stop doing?
Right.
You're going to stop pulling comprehensive blood work. And that 100% happens. People have put their faith in a broken system, and it's not their doctor's fault. Again, the clinician's trying to operate within the ecosystem that they're living in, but they're somewhat hogtied with their decisions and their abilities.
Let's put a 25 on there. Some of these doctors that are already 50, 60 years old that have had a practice for a while, I don't know how realistic it is to think that they're going to all of a sudden, be all up on the latest data of what a company like yours is doing,
The challenge for those guys is in the United States, on average, they have 6 minutes with a patient. You cannot do a deep dive and uncover root causes in 6 minutes with a patient. And they've got to see 40 plus patients a day to make a living. I mean, that makes it really tough.
They see 40 patients?
Yeah.
Let's do 5. There you go. Good,
I'm so weak.
Oh, you're doing good. Stay with it. Yep, one more. Good, we weakened you up a little bit with the dumbbells. Good.
No, I think it's just training Muay Thai and not lifting.
Yeah.
You got me. It's what Jimmy's helping me with.
Can beat people up a little easier. But now maybe if you get someone in a clinch or something, they can get out of it. It's easy. Then you got to go back to your training. You need a plate and a 25. Cool thing is I'll have you do your next set with the slingshot.
Oh, hell yeah.
Kind of feel the difference between.
Yeah, I've seen all the. That's crazy. I don't know how I didn't realize that was your invention.
Oh, cool.
That's wild.
Yeah. I created it kind of a long time ago. It's been a big blessing.
But you've gotten out of powerlifting now, right?
Yeah. I haven't.
Even for fun, like recreationally, you don't really.
I will deadlift here and there. Really modest weights, like a plate or two. I will bench press. Bench press is something like, it's just an easy exercise for me. I've always liked it, so I keep it in there. But I'm not like lifting anything the way that I used to. I mean, every week on a squat, the bar would have like 8 or 9 45-pound plates on it, and then every week it would have 5 or 6 plates on here and 6 or 7 plates on the deadlift.
What do you weigh right now? Like 220?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was 221 this morning.
What was the heaviest you've been?
330 pounds.
Holy shit.
Yep.
That's insanity.
It was pretty good. The face was pretty large. I was probably taking more.
And your joints have held up?
Oh yeah, I feel pretty amazing.
Fucking wild.
Yeah, I feel awesome. I don't have any. I got nothing. I feel really good.
I was excited to come down here or come up here and talk you into coming to do stem cells in Austin. I wanted to see if you could tell a difference.
I'll still come down there and get shot up with something.
Yeah, let's do it.
I mean, right?
I'm telling you, it's just one of those things, like, I am a believer, bought and sold, like, no change in my mind on it. We've just seen such phenomenal results.
Yeah, I have had, like, my right elbow, bugs me a little bit here and there. Left shoulder every once in a while, left hip. But they're all things I've just, like, managed or whatever.
Yeah.
Give me a little bit of a lift off.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, up.
Making it look easy.
There we go. Whoa.
It's fun. My favorite part of the stem cell stuff is having somebody come in a total skeptic
Yeah.
Like Aaron Rodgers came in, and he's like, I can tell he's just been told everything, sold everything, overpromised everything. And I always tell people, hey, it's medicine, not magic. I don't want to
imagine how many times that guy's been told that.
Oh my God.
You know, like, oh, we're going to fix your back and we're going to fix. And he's like, dude, I get tackled by dudes that are like 300 pounds that run a 4.840 or whatever, you know?
And that's what's funny with athletes and people who are really pushing themselves. I try and explain to them, this is a war of attrition, right? Like, let's help prime your body and give it all the necessary building blocks and tools to do its best to keep up with what you're putting it through, knowing that it's never going to be all the way there.
Right.
Like, the body can only handle so much. And if you're a guy getting hit by 300-pound linemen, you know, defensive linemen, good luck not being injured.
How long have you been lifting for?
Since like high school, yeah. And I did CrossFit for a while. I've never done powerlifting, but I did do opposite way. I did do CrossFit for probably 5 years back when I was a device rep. And
CrossFit's fucking hard.
The problem with what I've learned is what we were talking about, as you learn things. I'd get big into lifting and I got all the way up to 205, you know, looking like a bowling ball.
Right.
You know, and then I'd go, I feel too bulky. So then I would go run marathons, and like now I'm skinny again, and lose all my muscle.
Trying to find a happy
and then
medium.
now in my 40s, I'm like, how do I maintain muscle, keep cardiovascular health, balance all this? You know, I do want to have muscle mass and be built, but I also want to be able to go run and be healthy and do all that.
Pull it up onto your biceps.
Okay, so further up.
Yep.
Right there. Is it gonna go over my elbow?
Goodness.
Just kind of the tip?
It'll go up over the elbow just a little bit.
Okay. It's barely on it. Is that good?
Yep.
And then
go ahead and go with what's your normal grip?
Like right about here.
All right, cool.
Very awkward. Let me see.
Yeah, it's gonna feel strange when you do it. 1, 2, 3, up. We'll stay with you on a couple reps so you get used to it. There you go, good. Good. Keep that chest up. There you go. Push a little harder from the bottom. Yep, keep going. Push hard. One more. There you go. Good. Nice.
What was cool about that is that totally took all the pressure off my elbows.
Yeah, right?
Like, totally took all the pressure off.
It's a big reason why
That's wild.
It's a big reason why I don't have much pain anymore. Is because I would train with that. I wear, you know, wrist wraps, knee sleeves, just always protected myself when I was training. Just depending on what I was doing, you know. But for the most part, I'd always throw on something like a slingshot or something like that.
And I read in powerlifting. Now there's I'm naive to it, but aren't there competitions where you can use this and competitions where you can't?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's competitions.
And is it because that's supposed to give you some sort of advantage?
Oh, it's giving you some help, yeah. Mm-hmm. Making the lift a little easier. So one more plate would be good.
But it is, I mean, it's still straining the pec.
Oh yeah, you're still getting.
I felt like all it did was relieve elbow tension.
You're still getting all the work. It's taking some of the stress off some of the joints.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the way I usually describe it to people, is it works as double muscle. You know, as the muscle is stretching and lengthening, so is the slingshot. And as your muscles are contracting, the slingshot's contracting, and then it's from here to here, you still have to push it a lot, you know?
Yeah.
And I've had people kind of say like, oh, it's, you know, I don't know, it feels like cheating, but I've had people use it and they get stronger with and without it.
Yeah.
You know, I've had people do, there's been women that have used it because some of the tests that women do for, I think, police, they have to do X amount of push-ups. I can't remember, maybe like 20 push-ups or something like that. And maybe even some military as well. But they utilize the slingshot for like a couple months, and they do push-ups with the slingshot, and they're able to even do push-ups without the slingshot. You know, so
it's really cool because for me, like again, in my 40s, I'm just terrified of getting injured, man. I don't want to be out for 6 months.
Right.
And so I'm reluctant to push it with weights or anything that I think could blow anything out or injure a joint.
That's why I think like stuff like this is good. You know, elbow sleeves, knee sleeves, those are all like reasonable things to utilize. Or some of your training can be on machines and cables. Yeah. Like, you know, it's pretty hard. I mean, you can like just as an example, it's like just you flip something here that's heavy. It's like I can either kind of like pull on this or I can't, you know? And it's like, I'm not going to hurt myself doing that.
Yeah.
You know, pulling a sled. Pulling a sled's a great example. Like I can have you try to pull 1,000 pounds a day and you wouldn't get hurt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Can or can't.
Yeah, it either moves or it doesn't, you know?
Yeah.
So you find things like that are, even with like the kettlebell that's over here, like let's just go over it, we'll pick it up a couple times. Like there's some kettlebells over here that are pretty heavy. And I'm not saying that you can't get hurt doing this, but like if you see we have so many different kettlebells.
Yeah.
If you're just like, you know, I should do some stuff to strengthen my back. It's like you walk over to one of these guys, pick it up a couple times. And like I'll literally do this sometimes in between sets while I'm working out. And then if I want to pick up Big Bertha over here. But it's something that it's not crazy low to the ground. Mm-hmm. There's no like extra challenge to this that's going to compromise me and hurt me. What's up?
What's up, man?
Nsima.
Brigham. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Jimmy told me about you.
How?
Yeah.
Oh.
He was like, he was asking if I had met you. I said I hadn't met either one of you guys yet.
Yeah,
you know who else is
he's
in
been
Austin?
Working out with Jimmy House.
You know who else is in Austin that knows you guys? Aaron Alexander?
Yeah. Aaron's the
Fucking
best.
Freak, man.
He's great.
It's crazy. Like the level of rippedness that dude maintains year round, and mobility and flexibility and handstands.
Fucking
and
tall and shit.
yeah, he's like an acrobat Adonis. It's like, what the hell, dude? It's crazy.
He's really funny. When I podcasted with him, like we couldn't even get anywhere because he just kept making jokes the whole time. So I kept forgetting what I was saying. I'm like, I don't know where the fuck we are in this show because like you've been fucking around the whole time.
He's such a sweet guy too, man. Like, that's what's funny. Like a lot of those guys who have done psychedelics and a good amount of psychedelics, they have that like really kind mindset. Oh, you want me to lift this? Go
ahead and try a small one first. Yeah,
yeah,
move around a little bit. Yeah.
Easy breezy.
But you know what I mean? Like if you're looking to like work your legs.
You're talking about deadlifts. You want to go more like.
No, the way you're doing it is fine. I just think like you can just walk over. My point is being just like, these are exercises that, again, you could hurt yourself, but this is gonna be a lot easier than like loading up a deadlift bar and then having that weight be in the way of your legs as you're trying to figure out how to like organize your spine. This is just easier. I can stand right over top of it. I can get right here and I can kind of load up, and it's like 200 something pounds. I can do.
You know what's crazy is in a way CrossFit helped so many people, but it also kind of fucked up people's fear of powerlifting.
Right.
Because so many people got injured, but they weren't really trained to be lifting that way, and they were lifting for under duress for time and in intervals where they're under pressure and maybe not using the best form.
Right.
And so the wrong portion of the workout was convicted. Does that make sense? Like orthopedic surgeons will tell people, don't power lift, don't do CrossFit. It's like, well, powerlifting is not CrossFit. And they are different. There's values in all of it.
Yeah, see, it's like, it's simple.
Yeah.
It's easy, like it's low risk.
Let's do this.
You could try Big Mama.
Big boy.
See, I think we have a tendency to like overcomplicate things, you know, like you'd be like, oh, how many reps and sets, and it's like, just if you have access to it, utilize it in your workout, and it's something that you can do that you're going to be less likely to hurt yourself with. Yeah. So it's like, how often can you do it? You can do it kind of as often as you want.
Well, and there's so much information now. I think a lot of people get analysis paralysis. Yeah. And it's like, just move. Right. If you're moving and doing something, it's better than doing nothing.
Yep. These sandbags and stuff are real nice too because they're kind of unconventional. They're a real bitch to pick up.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, basically when it comes to my lower body, because I run, I don't really have like a crazy focus on like totally smashing my legs as much as I used to. But you know, I'll do a couple sets of the squats on that thing, or leg curls, or even the sandbag is like a lower body workout. You know, those things are brutal. Yeah. It's nice to have a gym full of toys. Makes it easier.
What kind of mileage are you putting in on your jogs?
It's not too crazy. I think at least I don't think it's too crazy. I'll run about four days a week, and I like right now maybe on the higher end I'll go like 5 miles on a run, but usually not over that. Up.
That's pretty crazy though. 5 miles, 3 days a week, and you're able to maintain this amount of lean muscle.
Woo. Got some reps in there. Whoa. All right.
Did you know Zach Bitter, right? The crazy ass ultra marathon kid.
Yep.
He moved to Austin too.
Yeah, Zach.
Dude's a beast.
Yeah, he's our age.
Whatever that is. He's like a
Smaller framed.
yeah, smaller. Sorry.
That's so good.
Well, what's crazy is that then you got guys like Gordon Ryan. He's only 28 and he's fucking. Everyone thinks he's like 45 because he's built like fucking.
And he's got like a white beard or whatever.
Yeah, he dyed his beard and he's.
That's if he cuts his hair, man. Once he cuts fucking.
Oh, dude, he looks like a baby again. Everyone from fucking anybody who's got a podcast or anything in Austin came from fucking California. Like that shit wasn't in Austin 3 years ago.
Right.
Now everyone's a podcaster, and it's all Californians who had moved there.
Everybody's there now. Austin's a cool place, man.
Yeah, you got to come up, man. You got to come check out Rogan's Club. That's what I was telling your brother. It's so much. I set them up one night. I didn't meet them because I was so tired, but it's sick.
Just shove your elbows out a little bit against them. There you go. 1, 2, 3. Yep. So you can get it moving kind of fast. Yep, there you go. Good. Yep, keep pushing, yep. There you go, there you go. Good, good.
Dude, it makes such a difference though once you get used to it. I got 9.
Yeah, you got like 9 reps.
But it makes a difference. Big difference.
Bones are crackling. There you go. Nice. Dips always feel uncomfortable.
I like the stretch in my pec. I feel like it opens it up so much.
I like it a lot too. It's just one of those exercises where I'm like, just do them. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's just like they sort of suck, but I think they're.
That's the biggest thing that I've learned already from getting the opportunity to train with Jimmy is like, he's all about range of motion and really feeling the low end of an exercise of a rep range and like letting all that stretch take effect. Right. And I was always, when I was training myself, cheating reps and shortchanging range of motion, which I think was stiffening me up.
Yep.
And so it's mind-blowing to see if you do range of motion while lifting, how much it improves your range of motion.
Yeah, you can keep it, you can gain it. I mean, stretching while under a weight is really a hell of a stretch, you know?
Yeah.
It's intense. Kind of feels good though in a lot of ways.
These Bulgarian bags.
Did you ever think you would be working with, you know, so many kind of like high-level people and all this stuff with your company?
No. It's honestly surreal. Like, I still don't believe it. I really still don't believe it. And I also am stunned at how kind all these people are. Like legitimately.
Yeah.
All of them are just nice fucking people.
That's great.
And the other thing I've really, really learned, which I never doubted, but I haven't met a lazy fucking person. Like, regardless of their craft. Like, whether you're talking Aaron Rodgers playing football, or Joe Rogan doing comedy, or Tom Segura or Bert, like, the level of work ethic those guys have will leave people in the fucking dust.
Right.
Like, people have
Probably super
no
motivational.
idea.
Super motivational to you.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
how much work people put in to be good at their trade, their craft. And it motivates me to, like, how do we make our clinic better? How do we get better? How do we get more knowledgeable? How do we add value to these people's lives? Because that's what it all comes down to. They're so busy. If you don't add value, you're out. Like, they just don't have time for it.
Yeah.
So how do we make the most impact with the little amount of time from those individuals is the goal. The blessing is, for companies like Merrick or Ways to Well, or any of these companies that are focused on longevity, is the existing system and options are so broke that the bar has been set really low. And people think what we're doing is so cutting edge or revolutionary, but what you and I discussed on the walk, we're barely scratching the surface.
Yeah.
In another decade, I don't think you'll do blood work either. You know, like what I'm envisioning is monitoring you 24/7 through wearables and large language models, where the AI is automatically calculating heart rate variability, REM sleep, cross-referencing it with treatment modalities when you started.
That's cool.
Looking at your DEXA, your VO2 max, and your biomarkers, your genetic makeup.
Incorporating your watch and your phone and your
Yes.
this and your that. And
Your sleep aid. We know how many
Yeah.
hours of REM sleep you got, how many hours of deep sleep. Are you responding to these treatment options? And because the issue with blood work is it's a snapshot of you in time, you know? And if you don't go back in for blood work for a year or 6 months,
Right.
we're operating off of bad info.
Right.
So I think in the future, it's gonna be you take a pill and it monitors your blood 24/7.
It's interesting because, like, on a completely different level and in a completely different way, I used to see people come into Gold's Gym Venice and they would work with a coach, bodybuilder, trainer, and the guy would just look sort of normal. You know, the guy would kind of have like average build, maybe he'd be a little overweight. And then 6 months later, boom, like the guy would have all this crazy progress, and everybody knew it was up.
Yeah.
You know, everybody knew he was getting like steroids from the guy and stuff like that. But it's funny because, especially at that time, people look down upon that and they're like, oh, this guy's taking a shortcut, he's just doing it this way. But it reminds me of like a TRT clinic in a way. The bodybuilder or coach that they had at the time was just taking advantage of all the tools that are available. And maybe it wasn't done in the safest way because maybe they didn't know that the guy had high blood pressure and they're giving him like Dianabol or something.
Yeah.
Not a great idea, right? So now we can test more. There's more variables that we can account for, and people can take a lot of these drugs that have been bastardized for so long in a more reasonable way to bring up their health.
Yeah. Well, and what's crazy even with that, what you're saying is, if it wasn't, as much as bro science gets shit on, if it wasn't for bro science, we would have never uncovered the benefits of testosterone.
Right.
We would have never known because it was shelved in the 1930s, like we said earlier. And bodybuilders and athletes are who kept that discussion alive, whether it was through the wrong lens or not.
Right.
It kept the dialogue alive long enough for traditional medicine to begin to assess that tool again in their tool belt and say, does this work? Is there a therapeutic benefit? What is the risk profile? Because any supplement, drug, workout, any choice you make is risk reward. And so for me, you assess the individual, you assess their individual needs, you assess their decline, and you make a conscientious decision alongside the patient, not for the patient. And that's the other issue I have with traditional medicine. It's a doctor dictating to you from a pulpit what you're supposed to do. Hold on now. You have a niche expertise. You don't know this individual's life goals, trials, tribulations, family history. You spent 6 minutes with them. Let's take the time to assess where they're at, what their fears are, what their goals are. Because if your goal is to live to be 100, we better get started. We better get started. We better be looking at your bone mineral density. We better be looking at your visceral fat, your subcutaneous fat. We better be getting that body fat off, putting lean muscle mass on, all these different variables to help this person get dialed in. So, I don't know. But you know, at a doctor's office in America, they're not going to do that because they got 6 minutes with you. So, and they're just trying to survive the day.
Well, I have a lot of friends, you know, that are super smart, that are in this space of health, wellness, nutrition, fitness, bodybuilding. And a lot of times, a lot of guys will say, well, I don't know, I'm not a doctor. And I actually been thinking about that more recently. Okay, maybe you don't know the same way as a doctor. And you'll hear people say, like, talk to your doctor, but I think it's just a cop-out to say, like, go talk to someone who's qualified, but qualified in what?
Yeah.
What are they qualified in? I think we're at a time where you either need to be your own doctor or you need to figure out a way to decentralize it a little bit and go to people that maybe have some offshoot ideas and concepts around health that can actually teach it to you. And I'm imagining that's what you guys do. You probably, as you're going along, you know, not just like, hey, this peptide's gonna make you jacked. This, you know, you're probably like
the goal is to teach someone how to fish. Right. Right. If we have to fish for you, it's not sustainable. And if you get a patient's buy-in and they take sovereignty and accountability on their healthcare journey and make it part of their daily plan, that's how you get real outcomes. And that only happens through education, empowerment, and giving that person the ability to spread their wings and fly. Whereas, you know, primary care, again, in that system, it's like they're just operating with what they can do, and it makes it really hard on patients because they're really getting crappy care at the end of the day. And it's not the doctor's fault. It all comes down to what insurance is letting that doctor do. That's why there's so many compounding pharmacies now, because, you know, testosterone, there is a boom and there's a lot more awareness in the benefits, but insurance doesn't cover testosterone, typically. For you to qualify for testosterone through insurance, you have to have a fasting testosterone level of less than 250, 6 months apart. So what they're telling you is you have to be essentially on the verge of chemical castration. And
maybe suicide.
For a year.
Your brain might not be very good at that point.
Yeah, for a year. That's crazy. And imagine what decline happens in that year. And so, and then even if they do cover it, your copay and deductible is so high that it's cheaper just to pay cash. And that's where like Empower and compounding pharmacies like Revive have sprung up everywhere because it's not covered by traditional medicine.
Yeah, I always thought it'd be interesting, like, what if businesses just stopped offering insurance? You know, like, I know it would cause a crazy cascade of effect, but also maybe it would send a message like we need to figure out a different system.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, we don't have to talk about it on the podcast because it's so nuanced, but that is why I started my companies. Is I was in a pharmacy that billed insurance, and it's, Mark, when I tell you it's fucking crazy, it's crazy. You come in, and if you show me your insurance card, I have a gag order. I am legally, as a pharmacy owner, not allowed to tell you that I could sell you the product for cash cheaper than your copay or deductible. And so you may be paying double for a treatment that you need, especially elderly populations, because they're on 6 or more drugs in America. They're paying an artificially inflated price. So then you go, well, hold on. Why would the insurance company charge an artificially inflated price? Because they're the ones that have to pay for it. No. What happens is they've established a middleman that hides the profits called a pharmacy benefit manager. That is a shadow organization that negotiates rebates with big pharma. So GLP-1s, the weight loss drugs, the big uproar from the government is this is gonna run up the cost of healthcare and this is gonna bankrupt us, okay? But why are GLP-1s $1,300 a month? They're not if you get them through Revive. They're not if you get them through Empower. They're not if you get them through a compounding pharmacy. They're that price point because insurance companies negotiated the price up. Why? Because they get the rebate to their pharmacy benefit manager, which they hold, which is $400 at GLP-1 a month, goes to their profit center. Then the insurance company at the end of 12 months comes back to employers like me who have over 300 employees and they say, hey, Brigham, this patient of ours, of your employee cost us $25,000 last year. we're going to raise your rate by 25 grand on this patient plus a preferred return for us. You get where I'm going with this?
Yeah,
so they're artificially making it look more expensive than it is, taking the profits over here and keeping them at a different company, then passing the burden on to employers. And they're doing that on every drug on the market. It's not sustainable.
Right.
United Healthcare didn't make $380 billion last year covering your grandma's prescription drugs. They made it fucking over the American people. And that's where this is headed. And so I look at it and go, if we don't have compounding pharmacies and we don't do cash pay, this thing's headed over a cliff.
Yeah.
It's just not sustainable. It is not possible. The mathematics do not work. It's economics 101. And so either people are gonna not get medicines they need to save their lives or change their lives, or employers are gonna be hammered. And then with AI and large language models and robotics, you're not gonna employ people if you can replace them with a robot. You're not gonna employ people if you can, robots don't get sick. Robots don't need prescription care.
I hear people say it all the time that they can't afford.
You think this is the right weight for me? I didn't look at
Maybe that, or maybe go down a pinch.
Let me try that.
Yeah, I hear people say it all the time, and I've done what you're saying before. I've just said, to like, what insurance do you have? I'm like, I'm not even sure. And then I'll just ask to pay for it in cash, and it's not expensive.
Yep. That's
It's
what
like,
people don't realize.
It's $50. You know, I'm like, it's $50. I'm like, what was my insurance going to do with that anyway?
Yeah.
Probably make it $175 or something. You know.
So what
Make it more
happened is when
expensive.
I owned a retail pharmacy that billed insurance, we'd have these little old ladies come in trying to fill their drugs, and I'm having to tell them that their copay is $30 when I could have sold them all their medicines for $30.
Right.
And then they assume that I get to keep that $30. No, the insurance company claws back. As soon as I put it in the computer, the insurance companies take $20 and they leave my pharmacy $10. So the pharmacy, and then they're bankrupting pharmacies because guess who's buying pharmacies? Insurance companies.
Right.
CVS Caremark is now owned by Caremark, which is United. And so it's becoming this monopoly, and it's very dangerous for American, like for the average person in the United States, like their healthcare is almost bought and paid for capitalism. And I'm a capitalist, I believe in free enterprise, but the level of corruption and like the willingness to sell people's health and futures for dollars is very disheartening.
It's really interesting too, because if you know where to buy stuff, I mean, there's places all over the internet. You can buy all kinds of different things. You can even go into Costco and buy something like insulin. It's like super inexpensive. I realize, like for a diabetic who needs to take more, maybe they run through it super fast. But I think that maybe people don't even realize that you can go to Costco and get, Walmart.
Yeah.
And get insulin for like $30.
It's nuts out here. I'll put you back. What'd you want?
Yeah, just maybe one up from wherever you were at.
I think you want to go, you were at 25, you want to go 30?
Yeah, give that a shot. And you know, it sucks because that might drive people to go to companies that aren't, they don't have a good supply of product. You know, they have some shit, whatever version of it.
Well, that's what's a bummer with this. They reclassified a bunch of the peptides. 8 peptides got reclassified by the FDA as dangerous compounds, which is so
BPC one, right?
Such a bummer. So, us, Empower, all the major compounding pharmacies, there's just too much to risk. You can't fight a fight with the FDA. So most of us have discontinued these life-changing drugs. And if you look at why it really happened and you peel back the layers to the onion, it has nothing to do with it being dangerous. Nothing. You know who's got 200 patents, right? And 200 patents in the works for peptides? Merck, the pharmaceutical company. BPC's on that list. They're working to patent these products and charge crazy dollar amounts. And they're colluding with the FDA to suppress people's availability to this shit through compounding pharmacies. And I can understand the counter argument is there's not enough clinical data and research, but people have been using BPC for almost 8 years now with no side effect profiles and great results. So to all of a sudden ring the bell and act like it's dangerous, is it, or is it that there's a lot of money in it now and an opportunity to monetize it in a new way?
That's craziness.
Yeah.
What are some peptides that you've seen work pretty good, like BPC, like What does that do? I've heard it called like the Wolverine peptide.
Yeah, it's man, it is supposed to be great from musculoskeletal issues, tendons and joints. We've had phenomenal, it's an instant anti-inflammatory response. So for people who are chronically inflamed or struggling with inflammation and inflammatory issues, it was originally used for gastric issues, so stomach and gut issues. It'll bring down gut inflammation, Crohn's disease, all those different things. But then they realized it was also bringing down joint inflammation. And it's a signaling cell, a lot like MSCs, mesenchymal stem cells, which is when everyone's talking about stem cells, it's really just a signaling cell. And so the way I try to explain it as a non-clinician, because I'm not a clinician, is as we age, we become more and more deficient in certain building blocks, and our diet and lifestyle is deficient in those building blocks and macronutrients. And so if you look at a construction site, you not only need the blueprint, but you need the building blocks. You need the brick, the mortar, the concrete. If you don't have concrete, you can't build a building, right? If you don't have the essential amino acids and short chain amino acids to rebuild the vessel, then you're not gonna effectively rebuild. In a dream world, yes, we want you to get that from diet and nutrition and better life choices. But in reality, we know that's a really hard thing. And so peptides were just a life hack, just a way to put a plethora of these cellular goodies back in your body that would signal, hey, there's an injury over here. And then when your cells come to heal that injury, those building blocks are present, and they not only have the blueprint, but they have the signals, and then they have the ingredients. And that's the same thing with MSCs and stem cells.
Right.
So those peptides, the GHK copper peptide, I don't know if you've used it.
I'm aware of like copper. I've heard quite a bit of stuff on it, but I'm not aware of that I don't know much.
I think
about
it's
that
great
peptide.
for like skin.
Right.
Like you use it on your face and skin, and it'll help increase skin elasticity. But they're using it on joints too now that BPC got, I don't want to say banned, but reclassified. There's a lot of promise in its anti-inflammatory benefits as a topical. But it's going to be tough to fill the void that BPC is going to leave. It really is. It's a bummer. And what's going to happen is what you said. People are going to go to the internet and they're going to buy it from non-human sourced. And look, if we're talking about a pill or a cream, that's one thing. But when you start talking about injectables that are going straight into your body and bypassing your body's natural defense mechanisms, if there's a contaminant or an issue there, those peptides say not for human use for a reason. That gives them the ability to say, well, that idiot took it, you know, into their own hands and injected it in themselves. And so a lot of people talk about, I think, peptide sciences, and I'm not here to say they're good or bad. I'm here to say there's no FDA regulatory body. The FDA's been in my building 3 times in 18 months. I know the FDA is constantly inspecting compounding pharmacies. All of our API or ingredients are FDA approved ingredients. Our highest paid person in the building is our quality guy. He's got 20 years with the FDA, and he works in our building making sure everything we do is top tier. Supplement companies, better or worse, are not held to that same level of accountability. And so injecting something from an unvalidated source is just so high risk, man. I don't give a shit what it is. It's not worth it from my seat. And that's what sucks is the FDA is going to force people to that. Which is the same thing we saw with opioids. They made opioids so tough to get. Now we have a fentanyl crisis. You know, more people die of fentanyl a day than, it's like a 747 jet worth of people dying every day from fentanyl. That's how many, 180 something people die a day. A day.
That's crazy.
With more people die a year than the whole Vietnam War off fentanyl. And all that was created by Big Pharma and the federal government and the FDA, which is mind-bending. It's crazy.
It's nuts.